NBA, rookie becomes strongest shooting guard in history. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11. The pre-match warm-up for both sides ended quickly, with the starters of both teams standing on the pitch. Similar to Texas agricultural workers who only have Midu and Logan, Syracuse University this year, except for the two young men on the outside, the other three are NCAA-level tool people. Everybody is watching Dion Vitesse, and Michael Carr/T. Williams is actually just as good. The commentators on the sidelines also gave McKay enough respect. After all, Syracuse University can reach the round of 16 and win the favorites Kentucky and Kansas, not only by Vitesse. McKay's ability is also not negligible. Coincidentally, Texas Agritech also has a forward twin. Another commentator focused on the Texas agricultural industry, Chris and Rose's abilities. We've seen it too. McCauley and Vitesse were key to helping Syracuse University reach the Sweet 16. On the Texas agricultural and industrial side, Logan and Rice Beans, why not? The play of the twin stars of the two teams today may be the key to determining the direction of the game. Between the narrator's words, the center of both sides stands on the center line, and the referee throws the ball high. The Syracuse University center was still very powerful in getting the ball into McCauley's hands. McCauley held the ball steadily through the half, and Syracuse University dominated the offensive possession of the opening first attack. In the front court, McCauley came over with the ball and, without saying a word, took the lead in handing the ball to Vitesse. The latter held the ball sideways, glanced at Logan, who was defending him, waved his hand, and signaled his teammate who stepped forward to block the dismantling to pull away. Today, Vitesse considers himself the protagonist of the pitch. Since he is the protagonist, the freshman player opposite the singles, what else do you want to block? 1v1 burst and you're done. Oh, Dion Vitesse signaled his teammates to pull away, he wants to single Logan. Interesting, Rose's defense is still excellent, he once locked Bradley Beal in the round of 64. Maybe today, through Rogan's defense, we can see who is the stronger scorer between Bradley and Dion. The two commentators on the sidelines were also drooling. In their mouths, Logan seemed to become a reference. Bradley Beal is locked up by Rogan, and if Vitesse can break through Rogan's defense, then it speaks volumes. Vitesse is bigger than Bill. It's not just two narrators. Anthony and Shousey in the audience also sat up straight. They also didn't expect that the highlight of the two young quarterbacks facing each other would actually be staged so early. Boom, boom, boom. When the whole court was focused, Vitesse, who was holding the ball, pointed his nostrils to the sky, walked to the right side to start, and walked into the three-point line. It's just that Logan is not a vegetarian, and he works his feet, easily chasing and defending his opponent, and does not lose his position at all. Vitesse wasn't surprised. If the protagonist's scene is completed so simply, the effect of the show can be greatly reduced. Only the fiercer the opponent's resistance, the more it can reflect its strength. Between thoughts, Vitesse quickly changed direction, instantly retreated, and jumped up for 2 points. Swoosh! It's too late, it's too soon. At the moment when Vitesse made a series of moves, Logan, who was not out of position, flew up, and a pair of long arms lightly lit the basketball in the air. After completing the block, Logan landed on the ground and jumped twice, grabbed the ball in the air with one hand, and completed the ball conversion. Not only that, Rogan, who landed with the ball, directly came to a back luck, cleverly dodged Vitesse who blocked the way in front of him, and counterattacked the front court. The whole Syracuse University team failed to react. They could only watch the Celestial Empire guard quickly raise his horse, fly to the front court, change his hands into one hand within the three-point line, and violently split to score. 2:0. Syracuse University, which won the jumping ball, was the first to score 2 points by Texas agricultural workers. Oh, wonderful offensive and defensive rounds. Logan's physical hardware is so good, his long arms make this block look so easy. It's not just his physical hardware, guys, Luo's defensive footwork movement is also excellent. The commentator on the sidelines said excitedly, look at his defensive footsteps against Dion Vitesse. Despite Dion's best efforts, Luo has never lost his position. Don't overlook Luo's excellent physical fitness, man. Another commentator added, look at his bounce speed and how fast his second takeoff is. I have a hunch that the opening shot today is likely to be staged many times in the game. Just in the first round, the two commentators had already begun to blow Logan to the ground. The reason is simple. Dion Vitesse is the strongest quarterback in 12 editions. But even the strongest quarterback in the 12th class, under Logan's defense, can only swallow a hot pot. More importantly, how relaxed it is for Logan to defend against Dion Vitesse. Maybe. He's the strongest quarterback in this year's NCAA tournament stage. Blowing a wave of the strongest shooting guards, is there something wrong? Of course nothing is wrong. Basketball article niche, flower ticket tip has not moved for a whole day. I hope readers can greatly support it. The data is too shabby. Episode 12. It's kind of interesting. United States, NCAA round of 16 site. Cameron Anthony in the audience, his eyes lit up. The goal, he said, was that Logan completed the blocking defensive round against Dion Vitesse. Indeed, this Logan's athleticism is excellent, and he is physically fit enough to do it all. Shousey also nodded, Cameron, maybe Luo is more suitable for our team. What the New York Knicks are missing right now is a third scoring point with singles ability. If this third scoring point also has a certain ability to defend alone, it is simply excellent. Compared to Vitesse, who only has offensive attributes, Logan, who can complete excellent one-on-one defense and also has singles attributes, is obviously the best choice. Look again, the game has just begun. Anthony didn't say much either. After all, this match has only just started a round, and it is a bit too hasty to jump to a conclusion. Syracuse University is also in no hurry. The team's book strength is superior, and just the first leg of the opening game is depleted, and it does not change the gap between the two teams in terms of overall strength. McCauley held the ball halfway through, but still found an opportunity to get the ball into Vitesse's hands. This ball Vitesse faced Logan's defense, swayed a little, and decisively pulled it up to step on the line for 2 points. Although Logan jumped half a beat slower, his terrifying bounce speed plus exaggerated arm span quickly intercepted Vitesse's shooting path. To avoid the cap, Vitesse raised the arc. Although he didn't eat the cap again, the ball was also deflected, and the rebound was protected by the Texas Agricultural Workers Center. Offensive and defensive conversion, Texas peasants and workers settled in positional warfare offensive. The team's point guard diverted the ball widely to find Logan outside the three-point line on the right side, who held the ball to face Vitesse's defense, ignored the defender, and got up with a dry three-point arrow. Dion Vitesse's defensive reaction has been fast, but the advantage of Logan's height plus arm span plus bounce is too obvious. Although Vitesse has worked very defense, for Logan, this defense is equal to nothing. Ugh. The basketball cuts a smooth arc in the air and then runs through the net. Logan scored 5 straight points in the opening game to help the team gain the advantage. This ball. At the same time, in the audience on the sidelines, Cameron Anthony's pupils shrank. He seemed to see a familiar figure on Logan's body. Oh, perfect dry pull 3 points. Luo makes full use of his height plus bounce advantage. His dry pull point is too outrageous. That's right, this kind of dry selection like Luo, I have only seen it in Tracy McGrady. The two commentators on the sidelines also saw a familiar figure on Logan's body. This figure, this dryness, this soul-destroying calf. Logan, this is the wheat of the red fruit. Of course, Logan's arsenal is not just Maddie's offensive pack. Syracuse University finally scored 2 points with interior height. It was the turn of the Texas Agricultural Workers to attack the round. Logan asked for the ball on the flank of the free throw line, giving Vitesse a physical confrontation that made the defender stagger backwards. The defender was completely out of position, and Logan easily turned around, leaned back, and scored steadily. If the dry pulling just now made people see Maddie's shadow, then now this back is Kobe Bryant possessed by Chigwogwo. Throughout the 20 minutes of the first half, Logan barely attacked with the ball. It is to use Maddie or Kobe's offensive means as the endpoint of various team tactics to send basketball into the net and complete the tactical end. According to the statistics in our hands, Logan's dribbling time in the entire first half was only 76 seconds. At the end of the first half, the commentator on the sidelines looked at the technical statistics in his hand. He doesn't need to hold the ball at all, he just needs to catch the ball to complete the score. Moreover, his finishing style of play, which does not require the ball, is surprisingly efficient. Another commentator couldn't stop shaking his head. Dion Vitesse was completely exploded. Logan played 15 minutes in the first half and scored 22 points again, another halftime 20-plus scoring performance. Logan is on the stage of the NCAA round of 16, continuing the hot form of the previous 2 rounds of elimination. More importantly, the offensive style that Logan showed today was eye-catching. He does not possess the ball, but has the task of finishing and is guaranteed to be completed efficiently. This style of play can be applied to any team in the NBA. In other words, Logan doesn't just have eye-popping physical hardware and a talent for movement. His immediate combat power, his style of play, is also plug-and-play. Once selected, this super newcomer from the Celestial Empire will not only gain the future, but also gain the present. Amare, I don't think something is quite right. Cameron Anthony in the audience had a very ugly face. He wasn't embarrassed that his alma mater was won by 17 points at halftime. It's because of Logan. Luo's talent exceeded my expectations. Looking at the data sheet handed over by Logan at halftime, Anthony said word by word, "We may not be able to have him." Episode 13, Cameron Anthony wasn't joking. As the saying goes, the layman looks lively, the insider watches the doorway. The little melon only needs to watch this half of the game to be clear that this Texas agricultural and industrial freshman from the Celestial Empire has surpassed Dion Vitesse. And the excess is not a star and a half. Dion Vitesse is the 12-time best shooting guard outside of Logan. Logan, who is much stronger than Vitesse, how can he be a player in the first round? Now, it's only a matter of time before Texas agri-workers advance to the next round. The exposure and attention that Logan has received will be raised several notches again. With his talent and ability, he can turn these attention and exposure into chips to improve his position. In other words, Logan will far surpass Dion Vitesse in the draft market after tonight. Vitesse is already a rookie in the top 5 divisions. Logan, at least in the top 3, has a chance to even hit a higher pick. With the current assets of the New York Knicks, it is only a theoretical possibility to take Logan. Unless trade all-star core players like Anthony or Smalls. Of course, this is an impossible operation. Therefore, it is almost impossible to become teammates with Logan in the new season. Anthony was very sorry. With only his own plus chassis lineup, maybe there will be a battle in the regular season, but in the playoffs. If they want to break out of the East, they will have to face the Miami Heat, which has a big 3. Anthony can play against James, and Smalls can play against Bosch. But Dwayne Wade, there is no way to match it. Logan may be the answer to this conundrum. Come to think of it. Although Anthony felt that there was little hope, he left the game early and prepared to return to New York to reflect with the team management about what he saw today. Let's see, Cameron Anthony and Amare Stoudemire have left early. The movements of Anthony and Chassis are also the focus of attention of the sideline commentators. It seems that as a famous student of Syracuse University, Cameron does not want to see his alma mater defeated like this. It's true, for Syracuse University, the problem they need to solve in the second half is not just a huge 17-point difference. Just like the narrator said, the first problem in front of Syracuse University is naturally a 17-point difference. In addition to the point difference, they also had to find a way to limit Logan, who scored 22 points efficiently in the first half. Not only that, but they also have to activate Vitesse, who is locked up by Logan. In addition to this, Texas agricultural workers have Chris Middleton's cold arrows from time to time. Syracuse University has so many problems to solve. Logan's question alone is already going to make them difficult to death. Of course, Syracuse University has solved all these problems. They couldn't even solve a problem. In the last 8 minutes of the second half, seeing the two teams approaching a 25-point gap, the Syracuse University coach waved his hand and directly replaced all the main players, completely announcing the abandonment of the game. In the end, in the atmosphere of the fans chanting the name of Texas A&M school, Texas A&M defeated Syracuse University with a 19-point advantage, and once again entered the elite quarterfinals as a dark horse. There is one more prestigious school that fell under the hands of Texas agricultural workers. At the end of the game, the commentator on the sideline stood up. "I just want to know, who is next? Who will be the next team to be blasted by Logan? I can't wait to see Logan take on Kansas, and even Kentucky." Another commentator was equally excited. "I can guarantee that Texas agri-workers will definitely be the toughest opponent for these two teams on the road to winning the championship." It's not just this senior commentator who thinks so. Post-match interview. The Syracuse University coach also mentioned this issue. "I don't think all the teams have given enough attention and respect to Texas farm workers." The Syracuse boss said, "They are strong enough to compete for the championship champion, even if they end up being the champion team this year. I will not be surprised at all. Stop thinking of Texas farm workers as a dark horse team, okay?" Dion Vitesse, who was also interviewed, lowered his high head. "Now, they are the biggest favorites, at least in my heart. Even hotter than Kentucky and Kansas?" The reporters on the scene obviously wanted to dig deeper into this topic. Of course, hotter than any team. Vitesse was blunt. "Kentucky and Kansas didn't beat us, but Logan did." Although he was completely exploded by Logan face to face today, he still exploded without a complete body. But the logic here in Vitesse is still straightforward. Whoever wins himself is the strongest one. Kentucky and Kansas failed to beat Syracuse University in the knockout stages, but Texas Agricultural Engineering did. Then, Texas Farm Workers is the biggest favorite team in Vitesse's heart. Episode 14. Dion Vitesse's post-match remarks also became the subject of ESPN's evening news. "Seriously, from now on, we shouldn't look at Texas Farm Workers as a dark horse team. ESPN Studios, renowned basketball commentator Stephen A. Smith said, "They are the favorites to win this year's NCAA championship." Yes, I fully support this view. Polk, another basketball commentator, nodded in agreement. Look at the teams they've beaten along the way. Whether it's Florida in the round of 64, Louisville in the round of 32, or Syracuse University that they beat in the round of 16. The strength of these three teams is all at the top 16 or even the top 8 level. Even these three teams, in front of Texas agricultural workers, are vulnerable. The first game was a reversal. Texas agricultural workers have fully demonstrated their strength in the face of the crushing of Louisville and Syracuse University. With a team of this quality, they should no longer be seen as a dark horse, but as a real favorite. ESPN's Evening News and Vitesse's post-match remarks not only caused heated discussions among the American media, but also caused heated discussions on the American internet. On Twitter, the topic of Texas A&M's victory over Syracuse University has rushed to third place on the hot search list. On the one hand, the popularity of NCAA games is very high, and this single-elimination tournament mode is thrilling and exciting for fans to watch. On the other hand, under the single-elimination stage, many strong teams may be overturned by unknown teams. This kind of strong team being played by the next Graham is what fans are looking forward to seeing. And now, Texas Farm Workers has become such a crazy team. Rational discussion, the Texas Farmers Union will not be the Final Four team? To be honest, I'm even expecting Texas Farm Workers to reach the finals, and they deserve to qualify for a final. Whether it's Texas Agritechnic facing Kansas or Kentucky in the final, it's going to be a great game and I can't wait to see it. Does anyone have the same hunch as me? I think Texas Agritechnic has a good chance of becoming this year's NCAA tournament champion. Comments like these have sprung up like mushrooms on Twitter. At the same time, the second most popular keyword on Twitter's hot search list is Logan. The round of 64 came out in a late-minute comeback against Florida to help his team reach the round of 32. In the round of 32, he became the first player in the history of the team to hit 30 plus 10. In the round of 16, dominate the court and bombard 37 points and 8 assists. With his continuous explosive performance, Logan instantly became popular throughout the United States. Luo is the strongest shooting guard this year. He has blasted Bradley Beal and Dion Vitesse, and Logan is the best quarterback. If Logan is in this year's draft, he will be a top 3 pick, and I believe in that. If Texas Agri-Workers can beat Kentucky in the final, Roe is my best choice. Rogan's popularity far exceeded the dark horse miracle of Texas agricultural workers. You know, the first place in today's Twitter hot search list is that the Miami Heat lost to the Thunder by 16 points. This is LeBron James, plus Dwayne Wade, plus Chris Bosh lost to the Thunder 4. The popularity is as high as you can imagine. However, even this kind of high popularity competition, on the hot search list, is only a little more popular than Rogan. Either way, Logan is now the hottest college student in the United States. Rogan's popularity in the United States also spread to the Celestial Empire. TX Sports sent out a push on its official website. March Madness is raging, and the players of the Celestial Empire shine Malikian. The NCAA is very popular in the United States, but it is not popular in the Celestial Empire. After all, a group of college players, Celestial Empire fans, don't bother to understand. But this year is different. A native Celestial Empire player who continues to highlight in the NCAA tournament. As a domestic portal of the Celestial Empire, TX naturally wants to report on it. It's not just TX Sports. X-Wave Sports also sent out the news. Shock. This Celestial Dynasty freshman made Cameron Anthony's face like ashes. There is a saying, on the title party, X-Wave is placed second in the domestic portal, and absolutely no one dares to say first. Anthony looked ugly at the time, all because the Knicks had no chance of taking Logan. As a result, when it came to Wave X, it became Logan who burst the melon alma mater, which embarrassed Anthony. Although this wave is the title party, this wave of X-Wave still raises Rogan's popularity in the Celestial Empire to a notch. On the professional basketball forum Hoopu, a professional basketball forum of the Celestial Empire, fans have begun to post inquiries. Where exactly can I see the live broadcast of NCAA games? There are also many fans who do not play Hoopu, sending emails to the central station, hoping that the central station can at least play the video recording of Rogan's previous rounds of NCAA games. The fanatical attitude of the fans has also attracted the attention of the leaders of the central television station. The high-level officials of Central Stage No. 5 held a simple negotiation meeting around Logan's birth. The theme of the meeting is also straightforward. Do you want to broadcast Texas Agritech's next NCAA tournament live? Episode 15. The content of the meeting on Central Channel 5 is very simple. and it revolves around whether to broadcast the NCAA tournament live. Although basketball has gained momentum in recent years in the Celestial Empire, but CCTV still only broadcasts the NBA. NCAA live broadcasts have arguably never been seen before. The NCAA is very popular in the United States, and this appearance of Logan is the best opportunity to start the NCAA live broadcast. Basketball practitioners led by Zhongqing all support taking advantage of the domestic boom that Logan is now setting off to start the live broadcast of the NCAA tournament. This single elimination basketball game is also very exciting. Coupled with Logan's presence, there is definitely no problem with the ratings. Just as Yao is to the NBA, Logan is to the NCAA. But college basketball players are not well known enough in China. The leaders of the central radio station are not fools either. Logan is indeed hot in the country now, but except for Logan, the rest of the NCAA players are simply not hot enough. The live broadcast plan of the NCAA tournament still has to be considered in the long run. In the end, after a high-level meeting that lasted more than 2 hours, Central Stage Number 5 chose a compromise method. If Texas Agritech can make it to the final NCAA tournament final this year, CCTV will broadcast the final matchup live. Conversely, if Texas farm workers failed to make it to the finals, then CCAA's NCAA live broadcast plan can only be temporarily shelved. This official announcement news was issued so that Logan's popularity climbed again in the Celestial Empire. Whether he can make the NCAA Finals live broadcast historically and make history has become a hot topic of discussion among fans. Logan's popularity in the Celestial Empire and the United States has also attracted the attention of many current NBA stars. In addition to the previous live viewing of Syracuse University versus Texas A&M's Knicks dual core, Blake Griffin, the interior core of the Los Angeles Clippers, is also interested in Logan. This season, after Chris Paul, the Clippers became the league's upstart. But with Paul plus Griffin, the Clippers are just a regular season team, and they are still close to the playoffs. A forward scorer like Logan, who also integrates offense and defense, is a perfect match for the Clippers system. It just so happened that in the next game, the opponent of Texas Agricultural Workers, again Griffin's alma mater, Ohio University. I thought of Anthony going to the round of 16 to watch Syracuse University and Texas A&M match. Griffin simply followed the example and also attended the elite quarterfinals to watch the Texas Agricultural Industry and Ohio University quarterfinals. In addition to cheering for Ohio, I'm also here for Roe. United States NCAA elite quarterfinals. Blake Griffin, who was interviewed by the media, did not hide it. We need an elite striker, and Roe is the #1 candidate in the team. In Griffin's worldview, a quality player like Logan should throw an olive branch to him early. Why are you hiding? Have quality players who haven't rushed to attack? Blake, do you have anything to say about Jared Sullinger, the core player at Ohio? The reporters at the scene did not want to let Griffin go so simply, and hurriedly asked. Jared has played well this season, and he is in the top 8 in his previous draft predictions. Sorry, I'm more concerned about Luo's performance. Griffin interrupted the reporter bluntly. Jared may be a good player, but I'm not very interested in him. Although Ohio University is Griffin's alma mater, Sullinger is also his own apprentice. But now, Griffin's identity is more of a Clippers player. He wants to strengthen the strength of his own team, so he pays more attention to Logan, who can improve the team's ceiling. As for his junior brother Sullinger, that's not as important as Logan was in Griffin's heart. I understand Blake very well, he didn't think wrong. Sullinger, who was also interviewed by the media before the game, nodded. So, I will use this game to make him more interested in me. Also, Blake may be disappointed today. At the end of the interview, Sullinger said directly, Luo, who has high hopes for him, will not play a passing performance today. With that sentence, the Ohio core turned around and left, throwing himself into the pre-game warm-up. Obviously, although Sullinger said that he understood Griffin's words, his body was still very honest. Logan, right? More interested, huh? Sullinger is going to let Griffin on the sidelines know who is the super newcomer who is more worthy of attention. The pre-match warm-up for both sides ended quickly, with both starters on the pitch. On the Texas Agricultural and Industrial side, it is still Midu plus Logan who starts the battle. On the big side of Ohio, naturally, there are also 4 tool men plus Jared Sullinger. In the jump ball round, Ohio University took the lead in winning the opponent, and the first attack of the team's positional battle was given to Sullinger, who asked for the ball in the low post. Boom! Facing the defender in the low post, the Ohio core eats the opponent, turns his back, and gets up with a double-hand dunk, opening the scoring for the team. After completing the dunk, Sullinger also glanced in Logan's direction unintentionally. In the eyes, the fighting spirit rises. Episode 16. Jared Sullinger made his attitude clear at the beginning. That's right, he's telling Blake Griffin on the sidelines that he is also worth paying attention to. United States, NCAA Elite Quarterfinals. Professional commentator from ESPN, full voice. Jared is also a top 5 interior player this year, and if he is allowed to kill on the offensive end, Ohio has every chance to kill the game. Texas Farm and Workers was only a 64-level team before the NCAA tournament. In addition to Logan, even if you add Middleton, the strength is mediocre. 2 tool players on the inside, it is simply difficult to limit Sullinger. Texas Farm Worker attacked, and the point guard advanced through the half, giving the ball to Logan, who came out on the right side to ask for the ball. Giving the ball to Logan is already a habitual tactic of Texas agricultural workers. Logan, who was holding the ball on the flank, raised his hand to glance at the defender, and then gave a gesture to his teammate. The Texas A&M power forward stepped forward quickly and hung up a block for the ball carrier. Ohio quickly completed the change of defense. The defender standing in front of Logan directly became Jared Sullinger, who had just become in good spirits. Although in terms of traverse speed, Sullinger is certainly not Logan's opponent, but he still plays 12 points of attention. At least the first round, you must defend yourself. Boom. However, it was the next moment when Sullinger's attention was full. Logan with the ball started quickly, and the swift first step directly threw Sullinger off the whole position. Sullinger reacted quickly and hurried to chase after him with great strides. Boom. Boom. Seeing the defender chasing up, Logan, who was holding the ball, changed direction twice in a row, not giving Sullinger a chance to react at all. I saw that the big ace of Ohio was like dancing on the court, spinning in place, and then watching Logan easily throw off the defender, and hit 2 points from the middle range. 2:2. Logan helps the team recover 2 points. Oh, great dribbling show. Ohio is fast, but Logan's first step and change direction is faster. Jared is like slowing down in front of Luo, he can only be swung in circles. The 2 commentators on the sidelines almost burst out laughing. Logan's speed of holding the ball and changing direction is simply outrageous. Sullinger was already slow, and he met Logan so fast. The contrast between the two is visible to the naked eye. Offensive and defensive conversion. The great Ohio offensive. The ball is still in the hands of Sullinger on the inside. This goal Middleton defended quickly. Under the interference of the two, Sullinger's turn hit the iron mist. The rebound was protected by Texas Agri-Workers, the team's point guard advanced in the half, and Texas Agri-Workers once again played positional battles. Like Ohio, Texas Farm Workers chose to put the ball in Logan's hands. Still a familiar recipe, or a familiar taste. Logan once again raised his hand and called the team's power forward to step forward to block the demolition. Ohio changed defenses again. The defender who came to Logan was still Jared Sullinger. This time, Logan dribbled the ball full, easily feinted to fly the disposition of the defender, and then leaned on Sullinger and shot in the middle. Toot. While the basketball ran through the net, the referee on the sidelines directly blew the whistle in his hand. Logan feints to fly Jared Sullinger, causing an opponent's defensive foul, and scoring 2 points, plus a penalty. Wonderful offensive performance. Luo's ability to combine the ball is too strong, and his dribbling rhythm is NBA level. Jared is like a blank sheet of paper in front of Rowe, and his performance on the defensive end is terrible. The 2 commentators on the sidelines splattered their saliva. Logan targeted Sullinger's defense for 2 consecutive rounds, counting the penalty hit, and has already cut 5 points in a row. The continuous deflated defensive end made Sullinger a little on the offensive end, and was decisively fouled by the Texas agricultural industry power forward. Sullinger not only took his second personal foul, but also handed over the ball to his opponent. The Texas Agri-Workers sideline ball was sent out, and for the 3rd time, he chose to give the ball to Logan. Logan, who was holding the ball on the flank, glanced at his opponent's defensive position. Sullinger has deliberately stayed away from Logan to prevent being blocked again, to prevent forced eating. But Logan's eyes fell on Sullinger again. No need to ask is to block and replace again. Logan opened the 3rd consecutive round against Jared Sullinger, who changed defenses. Boom, boom, boom. 45-degree angle on the left. Logan continuously adjusted the rhythm in his crotch, and a weak shake in his upper body made Sullinger step back in fear. The front was as empty as the sea. Logan skillfully pulled up, the 3-point sword was like hell flames, shot through the net, and hit again. 8:2. Just 2.5 minutes into the opening game, Logan faced Sullinger's defense and cut 8 points in a row, and there was no bullet. Episode 17. Row outside the 3-point line bookishly /shoot Jared Sullinger. Counting this goal, he has already scored 8 points in a row, and he is like no one in the offensive end. What's more, all 3 of these 8 points were scored against Salinger's defense, except for one extra penalty. Rogan's blocking tactic is simply hitting Jared on the point list. The 2 ESPN commentators on the scene made the analysis of the situation clear. The heart of Ohio is Salinger. From the very beginning of Salinger's first attack, he showed a strong desire to win. Unfortunately, before Salinger could start dominating the game, he was hit 3 goals in a row by Logan using this roll call tactic. Not only that, the Ohio ace has just started the game and has already committed 2 fouls. Whether from the perspective of defensive performance or individual fouls, the trend of this game at the beginning was already very unfavorable for Ohio State. I'm really not mistaken, Luo is really outstanding. At the same time, in the audience, Blake Griffin communicated to his teammate Jordan Jr., "We have to find a way to get him to join the team. The Clippers' core roster is still relatively young. With Rogan, they have plenty of time to develop while striving for better grades. The future is bound to be the Los Angeles Clippers. But if Luo continues to fight like this, his rank will definitely be very high." Jordan Jr. is still very direct, "We don't have such a high pick this season, then it depends on the operation of the team management." Griffin is also aware of this, "Whether or not we end up getting Rowe, at least I'll ask for that to management." Faced with a newcomer of Rogan's level, Griffin said that he had to let the team management try it out. The camera goes back to the game. Ohio used teamwork to finally open the game on the offensive end. But back on the defensive end, the Texas Farmers' roll call tactics gave Salinger a headache. He really doesn't look like going to Logan again, but if he doesn't change his defense quickly, it is equivalent to giving Logan a chance to shoot for nothing. Between making himself miserable or making the team miserable, Salinger still chose to bite the bullet himself. And then the result is, in the first 10 minutes of the game, Logan named Salinger 8 times in a row, hitting all 8 offense, counting free throws, and scoring 21 points alone. With Rogan's exaggerated scoring efficiency, Texas agri-workers not only had the advantage in the score, but also took the absolute initiative in the situation. In addition, the most troublesome thing for Ohio is not just the score and Logan's incomprehension. The complete collapse of Salinger's mentality, the core of the team, is something more serious than losing the game. In order to protect Salinger's fragile heart, the Ohio boss simply switched the poor potential player off the field to adjust his mentality with just over 8 minutes left in the first half. Judging by the trend of today's game, Salinger may not even be replaced on the field. For Jared, maybe not leaving a psychological shadow in this game is the most important thing. The commentator on the sidelines could only sigh when he looked at Salinger on the bench with a sluggish look. Logan is really too heavy. Although as an audience, this tactical play of dot and point blasting is easy to see explosion, but when he saw Salinger's lost appearance, the commentator still felt too cruel. Of course, if that counts as cruelty, Logan doesn't mind being a little more cruel. Full game. Logan only missed 1 shot, and with his efficiency fully stretched, he scored a career-high 39 points in the NCAA. If it weren't for the 3-point missed long-range whistle before the end of the first half, Logan would have shot 39 points from 100% in the game. Even more exaggerated, Logan scored 39 points and played only 22 minutes. This perverted scoring efficiency and speed helped Texas agri-workers easily seal the victory, and finally defeated the strong opponent, becoming the first team to reach the Final Four in the 12-year NCAA championship. Luo made history again. At the end of the game, the commentator on the sideline stood up and applauded. His 39 points is the highest score record in a single game in the history of the Texas Agricultural and Labor team, and reaching the Final Four is also the best record in the history of the Texas Agricultural and Labor team. The story of Logan and Texas farm worker is far from over, and this year's NCAA tournament may be Rogan's legendary moment. The light of the Celestial Empire is still shining on the NCAA stage, and even if Logan and his team end up in the Final Four, his name will remain in the history of the NCAA tournament forever. Episode 18, Texas agri-workers managed to reach the Final Four, and their opponents in the next game were quickly decided. With Ben McLemore plus Thomas Robinson plus Tyshawn Taylor and Jeff Wesay, the University of Kansas successfully defeated its opponents and became the second team to advance to the Final Four. And what they will face in the Final Four is the biggest dark horse team of the season, Texas farm workers. The other half of the area. The University of Kentucky still holds an absolute advantage, and it is easy to reach the Final Four. They will also face the University of Michigan in the Final Four. The gap between the two teams is visible to the naked eye, and Kentucky is only a matter of time before it reaches the finals. Since the result of the Kentucky vs. Michigan match is almost in suspense, people's attention is all on the semifinals between Texas Agricultural and Industrial and Kansas. Can title favorites Kansas stop the dark horses? Dark horse Texas farm workers, can he overturn the favorites and meet the Kentucky final? This kind of topical game has even attracted the attention of many NBA players. Rowe's performance was impressive, and if Texas agri-workers can make it to the finals, I'll go and watch. American Airlines Center, Miami, USA. LeBron James, who successfully helped the team defeat his opponents, said directly in an interview, "Dwayne is also very interested in this young man, and he will go to the final with me. Come on, it's clear that only you are interested in him." Wade next to James refilled the cup online. "I just want to wait until Luo enters the league and educate him well." Compared to James, the praise of the new generation of players is different. All the 9-minute man had in mind was to teach the juniors a good lesson. Michael Jordan educated Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant educated Dwayne Wade. Now it's Wade's turn as a quarterback senior to teach a lesson to a young man like Logan. I heard Luo's story, and it was incredible. The same representatives of the young forces. Russell Westblake was thrilled when he said of Logan, "I wish he could have entered the league sooner. I would love to compete with him." Unlike Wade wanting to educate Logan, Dwayne Shao just wanted to fight Logan. Luo did a great job, but he was still a little worse than me. Unlike Wilson, Kevin Durant is more direct, but I still hope that Texas agricultural workers can make it to the finals. I'd love to see Rowe versus Anthony Davis, who is the better one. If Logan is selected for this year's draft, he and Anthony Davis are the only two candidates for this year's top pick. Who will be the final top performer? It makes no sense to just look at the horizontal comparison. If the teams of the two can play against each other in the NCAA tournament final, perhaps this question will have a final answer. In addition to Janway and Dewey, many current NBA players intentionally or unintentionally mentioned the topic of Logan and Texas agricultural workers in post-game interviews. There is no doubt that this freshman of the Celestial Empire has become the hottest player in the current American basketball circle. April 1, U.S. time. The Final Four of the 2012 NCAA tournament were played at home at the University of Kentucky. With a double-double of 17 plus 15, Anthony Davis helped the team successfully beat the University of Michigan and became the first team to reach the final this year. I'm well aware of what people are talking about lately, and they'd rather see Texas farm workers become the ultimate champions. Finally reached the final, the thick-eyed brother said confidently in an interview, but what I want to say is that people may be disappointed. This year's championship will only belong to Kentucky. After Anthony Davis said this, the cheers of the entire Kentucky home stadium instantly resounded in the sky. University of Kentucky supporters can't wait to see their home team unload the Black Horse Texas Farm and Industry on the stage of the NCAA Finals. They may even stop at the Final Four. Our opponent in the final may be Kansas. Texas peasants are not that strong, they will not be our opponents. The champion is Kentucky's. Kentucky supporters cheer loudly. It seems that this year's champion is already in the pocket of the University of Kentucky. Logan is brilliant, but that's where his magic ends. It's not just thick eyebrows. Kentucky second-in-command Majiji is equally confident. If he can make it to the finals, I will let him know what the top forward defense in the NCAA is. Majiji wasn't joking. Although his shooting moves are bizarre, Majiji's physical talent and defensive ability are also among the best in the NCAA forward this year. If Logan can stand on the opposite side of Kentucky, then he will also face the strongest defensive pressure in the championship so far. Not only thick eyebrows and Majiji. Terrence Jones, Eric Noel, Marquette Teague and others, also in front of the camera, showed their determination to win. Texas farm worker is this year's dark horse? Logan enough to threaten Anthony Davis's top status? Then come on. Episode 19, Kentucky effortlessly made it to the finals. The team's 5 core players, respectively, issued a battle letter to the core of the top 4 teams in the other semi-district, Logan, after the game. Whether or not Texas agri-workers can reach the final and compete with Kentucky. At least this topic, already on Twitter, is hot all over the internet. Now, the pressure is all on Texas farmers. America, Texas, Dallas, American Airlines Center Arena. The ESPN commentator at the scene warmed up loudly. Kentucky, which was the first to advance to the finals yesterday, has focused the world's attention on Texas agricultural industry. If they fail to withstand the pressure and lose to Kansas in the Final Four, this legendary dark horse story will end in tragedy. Look at how much pressure Texas agricultural workers are under. Since they are the only Texas team in the Final Four. As one of the representatives of the Texas NBA team, the Dallas Mavericks directly applied to use their NBA-level home court as the venue for this round of the Final Four. Not only that. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban and team core Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Terry were all present to watch the NCAA Final Four at their home stadium. It is worth mentioning that there was also Space E, who was also a player of the Celestial Empire. In Logan's memory, the 11-12 season was the last season of Space Easy to stay in the NBA. And this season, he happens to be playing for the Mavericks. This time, as a compatriot of the Celestial Empire, Logan played the semifinals at the home of the Mavericks, and Spacey said that he would come to the field to hold the field. That's not all. Since Texas AgriWorkers is a Texas team, this time playing again at the home of the Texas top 3 Mavericks. So the fans who came to the American Airlines Center were almost all Texas fans. As local fans, they will naturally only support Texas peasants and workers who fight at home. In other words, this may be the highest level of cheering Texas agricultural workers has enjoyed on the scene to date in the NCAA championship. 200 fans chanted the name of the Texas Agricultural Industry School in unison. If this is replaced by an ordinary person, I am afraid that my hands will not be able to stop shaking. Of course, Logan is no ordinary person. Listening to the cheers of nearly 20,000 fans in the audience, Logan was unusually calm. Compared to the final, the current semifinal can only be regarded as a small scene. "Luo, we can't lose." Chris Middleton excitedly walked up to Logan's side. "The world is looking forward to us reaching the final." Unlike Logan's calmness, Rice Beans can be said to be more exciting than ever. "When I think of the close to 20,000 fans in the stadium, they are all their own supporters. The thought of playing at home in Texas. Middleton can't wait to start the game now, hit a few three-pointers in a row, and ignite the atmosphere on the court. Losing in this? Inexistent. Of course." Logan nodded confidently. "In my dictionary, there is no such word as losing." Texas A&M duo is full of confidence, and the core players of their opponents today at the University of Kansas are also morale high. Extinguishing the arrogance of the home field, they did not do less. Texas farm workers are indeed the dark horses of this season's ferocity. But in the face of absolute strength crushing, what is a dark horse? Crush and you're done. Kill them, guys. As the match was about to begin, Thomas Robinson, the core of the team, gathered the whole team around him. "The championship winner is waiting for us. Understood?" The Kansas crowd shouted in unison. Just look at the momentum of the two teams in the opening game, it is completely comparable. The pre-match warm-up ended quickly, with both sides starting on the pitch. The Kansas side team point guard is unknown, starting shooting guard, Ben McLemore. Small forward, Tashawn Taylor. Center Jeff Wesay. Power forward Thomas Robinson. All four are NBA caliber players. Ben McLemore and Tamaro have the potential to start with the league's underdogs. That's why Kansas dared to challenge Kentucky. A strong lineup is capital. On the other hand, look at the Texas agricultural and industrial side. It's still Midu plus Logan and 3 tool people. In the jump ball session, Jeff Wesay, who is 2.13 meters tall, easily defeated his opponent and took the lead to the team's point guard. Kansas dominated the offensive possession of the opening first attack. The team's point guard advanced through the half, choosing to put the ball in Taylor's hands on the right. Taylor was not greedy for the ball, and hit Tamaro, who shoved the ball into the middle range, who ate the defender and scored an inside layup to help the team open the scoring. For Kansas today, the offensive end has never been a problem. That's right, whether they can limit the firepower of Texas agriworkers on the defensive end is the key to this game. Although Kansas opened the scoring opener, the two commentators on the sidelines analyzed the key factors that determined the trend of today's game. Looking at the past few games of Texas agricultural workers, it is not difficult to see that they are on the defensive end. In fact, only Logan, a single defender. The other 4, including Middleton, are not defensive players. But on the offensive end, due to Logan's terrifying scoring ability and the firepower assistance of Middleton, the top 2 in command, they basically crushed the opponent just by attacking. So, for Kansas, whether or not you can stand up on the defensive end is the most important thing that determines the result of today's game. No doubt. The Kansas coaching staff is well aware of this. Texas agriworkers' offensive round. During the team's point guard advance, Ben McLemore, who was defending Logan, had already begun to defend Logan closely, giving the Foot Dynasty players a physical confrontation. It can be seen that the Kansas side attaches great importance to Logan's defense. In the audience, watching McLemore's physical confrontation with Logan, Mark Cuban's side, "I don't know if this Celestial Empire kid can continue his performance in the previous games. It's hard to say." Dirk Nowitzki also shook his head. In his opinion, Ben McLemore's defense is already frantically tested on the verge of fouling. With this intensity of defense, scoring is not so easy. Episode 20, American Airlines Center Arena, Dallas, Texas. The Texas agricultural and industrial point guard held the ball through the halfway and wanted to hand it to Logan for the first time. After all, the first attack in the opening game was solved by Logan, which was already a reserved show on the team's way to promotion. Only this time, Ben McLemore's close-fitting press made the Texas agricultural and industrial point guard hesitate. He is worried that his pass will be tackled by the opponent at any time. "Give me the ball." However, Logan, who was defended by his opponent, still freed up a hand and signaled his teammates to pass the ball. The advantage of height and arm span gave him a wide receiving space this time, and the team point guard decisively sent the ball to Logan's position. Boom. Basketball starts. Logan quickly turns around the face frame, starts in one step and walks the right side to accelerate overtaking. McLemore's pursuit speed is very fast, and he can't catch up with Logan in one step, so he chases him in two steps. Boom. Boom. However, Logan's forward steps instantly reversed direction, and two extremely large body forward changes were made, making McLemore defenseless. Boom. After the continuous change of direction completely disrupted the defender's center of gravity, Logan changed hands again in his crotch, directly causing the defender, who was already unstable in his center of gravity, to stumble to the ground. Easily dangling McLemore, Logan didn't look at the fallen defender, stepped on the gas pedal to death, and rushed into the 3-second zone. Let him in. At the same time, Thomas Robinson, the core of Kansas, who has long been guarding under the basket, is waiting for it. As long as Logan dared to rush in and go head-to-head with himself, he wouldn't mind shooting the other party down from a high altitude. Swoosh! As the fans held their breath, Logan, who drove straight into the box, flew up. It's like not seeing Tamaro under the basket at all, pounding the basket. Almost at the same time, Thomas Robinson also jumped up with all his strength, stretched his arms, and prepared his big hat to serve. Boom! Two ace players from Kansas and Texas agricultural workers collided head-on in the air. The next moment, the fans were in an uproar, and they all jumped up from their seats. Logan, who jumped up, crushed Tamaro with an absolute height advantage. Not only highly crushing defenders, but also crushing opponents in the collision of forces, like a heavy cannon in the air. Through the defense, the ball is poured into the ball frame. Buzz. The powerful and heavy dunk made the basket buzz. The sound of Thomas Robinson falling heavily to the ground sounded almost at the same time as the whistle of the referee on the sidelines. "Oh my God." The commentator on the sidelines jumped up and roared frantically, "Ladies and gentlemen, what do I see?" Logan shook Ben McLemore, went inside, violently smashed Thomas Robinson. "It's incredible. God, wasn't I really watching a Hollywood action blockbuster? This ball definitely did not add special effects. What's more, this ball Logan not only was effective for 2 points, but also caused a defensive foul by the defender and got a chance to add a penalty." The two professional ESPN commentators were completely dumbfounded. Logan's performance, even if it is placed in the NBA, is definitely the top 1 level of the top 5 goals of the day. Wasn't there news before that Rose style is Tracy plus Kobe Bryant? Equally stunned on the sidelines, there was Mark Cuban. He couldn't stop shaking his head. "Why does it seem to me now that his style is not at all like these two guys?" Cuban knew something about Logan. His clear guidance, Logan's previous technical actions, more like Kobe and Matty. Or rather, Logan's style of play is more biased towards dry jumpers and back-to-back shots to finish. Today, however, Logan opened the game with an unusual talent for dribbling, as well as his ability to physically fight and impact the basket. If we talk about the previous game, Logan let people see the shadow of Kobe plus Matty. So today's game, Logan's first attack in the opening game is like a combination of Allen Iverson and Vince Carr/Tur. Bryant, Tracy, Allen, and Vince. Dirk Nowitzki listened to the team's boss's summary and sighed. Today's young people are really not simple. They actually saw the traces of the 4 quarterbacks in a young man who was less than 20 years old. The impact that Logan brings to people is really exaggerated. What's even more exaggerated is that this is just Logan's first attack in the opening. He has a whole game to show his talent. What made the fans in an uproar is still to come. Thomas Robinson, who was knocked to the ground by Logan, also failed to stand up after the referee blew the whistle. The game could only be forcibly suspended, and the medical staff of the University of Kansas quickly stepped forward and asked plus checked on Tamaro. With the help of his teammates, Thomas Robinson barely stood up, and the 2 water cooler players held the team core left and right, helped them into the players' tunnel and walked back to the locker room. Obviously, based on feedback from the field, Thomas Robinson fell to the ground and suffered a bit of an injury after a high-altitude confrontation with Logan. He has to go back to the dressing room and get further checked. This is not good news for Kansas. The commentator on the sidelines shook his head helplessly. Their ace player, just a face-to-face with the opponent, may be forced to miss the entire game.